How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, we're going to be talking about a double Game Week 26 wildcard draft. We're going to be going over everything that goes into that wildcard, such as the team planning and also which premium assets you should be looking at. And then finally, we're going to be looking at two wildcard drafts revolving around different premium assets. So there's been a lot of premium assets that have come back from injury and are available for this double Game Week 26. So we're going to firstly take a look at what assets there are, and then secondly, those drafts, as I said, are going to be a different combination of those premium assets in each of them. So that's something you're interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So first, before we talk about the game week schedule, I just wanted to give you guys, as usual, a little bit of admin here. So my selling value is 100.7. There are a couple of you that might have absolutely nuclear selling values. I'm talking about that 108, 109 mark, but I'm pretty sure the majority of us will be around this 100 mark, 102 mark. So a little bit more respectable there. But if you do have a massive team value, that's just going to allow you to afford a lot more premium assets, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get a very good wildcard draft going into that double Game Week 26. But as I mentioned, our team value is not too great, so I'm pretty sure most of you will be able to afford the drafts that I'm going to be able to produce. There could still be some variation. For example, if I have Salah in one of my drafts, that means that I took him out and I brought him back in, but I didn't sell him and bring him back in. So I'm still going to have the selling price and cost price that I bought him for, whereas you might have a little bit of different value there. So there could still be some discrepancies between my team value and your team value, but my current selling value is 107, and that is my selling value, not my team value as always. But let's get on and look at the game week schedule. So the game week schedule is going to be the bread and the butter of your wildcard planning. Not only are you going to be looking at it for those fixtures in the double Game Week 26, but you also got to look at the upcoming game weeks, because if you are wildcarding right now in Game Week 26, you got to take into account double Game Week 27 and then also blank Game Week 29. So I personally will be wildcarding after that blank Game Week 29, and the reason I'm doing that is that I don't want to kind of dead end my team in that blank, and I want to get some players out that have a blank because the fixtures aren't actually looking that good. So that's the first thing I want to mention about if you are wildcarding in double Game Week 26, is that I actually am not favoring those blank Game Week 29 fixtures. So I think it's perfectly fine if you guys go in with about 7-8 players. You don't need a full 11 for that blank Game Week 29, because my current thinking is that I would rather have good double Game Week players over a blank Game Week player with a bad fixture, because I think the upside to that is just a whole lot higher. And that's the thing with FPL, we always are chasing those players with the highest ceiling, and I definitely think that double has that advantage over the blank Game Week. So I think wildcarding in double Game Week 26 is actually a good strategy, and I might actually be leaning towards it a little bit. But with the current setup of my squad, and when I was doing these wildcard drafts, I figured that I could actually get to the wildcard draft that I wanted by only taking 1 or 2 hits. So I'm perfectly fine with not wildcarding in double Game Week 26, but I can understand if your team needs it, because that's just going to be the way to get that maximum potential out of the double Game Week 26. So pause the video right now if you need the game week schedule, but otherwise just go to Ben Krellin's Twitter. Forgot to shout him out, but we've been shouting him out basically every single video in the past couple game weeks. Drop him a follow, put those tweets on notification, and now that the game weeks have been confirmed, it just shows what good work Ben Krellin has been doing, because he basically predicted every single double and what blank game week fixtures are going to occur. So the last thing to just touch on this game week schedule is that because you are wildcarding now, and with that blank game week, I still would have a couple of players that are going to be playing in that blank game week 29. We mentioned that Spurs are facing Villa, and that game has been confirmed. That's going to make that blank a lot easier to navigate, which might be one of the advantages to wildcarding right now. And because those players play in blank Game Week 29 while also having a double in 26, I would recommend having a couple of Spurs or Villa players, and it does also help that they have some really good fixtures in 26. So not only are they playing, but they also have some good doubles. That's going to make some of their players basically essential in my opinion. But enough of the game week schedule, let's go and talk about the premiums. So the premium assets, I've nailed them down to 4 assets here. You could also variate them, such as Mo Salah to Sadio Mane, or maybe Heung-min Son instead of Harry Kane. But I think the majority of people are going to be looking at Mo Salah and Harry Kane because they're more expensive than their counterparts, and that causes them to have a little bit more thought put into them if you want to fit them in your side. So Harry Kane, Mo Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and Kevin De Bruyne are my choice of premium assets and who I would be looking at to have in my wildcard draft. Obviously, you can't afford all of these. You could actually maybe afford all of them, but then the rest of your team is going to look absolutely dire. I'm not talking about Eric Dyer. I'm talking about the word for not great. So Harry Kane starting off, in terms of fixtures, Harry Kane probably has has the best fixtures out of all these 4 teams. Unfortunately, the bad thing is about Spurs is they haven't been playing great recently, and coming back from injury, Harry Kane I think has only had 1 win there. They were a little bit disappointing against West Ham, but I don't think the result actually gives them enough justice because Spurs had a lot of chances. You could argue that they weren't finishing those chances, so they don't mean anything, but on another day, Harry Kane could have had a little mini haul there, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us would be triple captaining him if he did manage to get some points in double game week 25. So Harry Kane, in terms of the fixtures, he looks great. The only kind of thing I've mentioned is that form that's putting me off him a little bit, and also because I own Human Son, I might not want to double up on those Spurs assets, but because I am a kind of a fixture FPL manager, I am really tempted by those Spurs assets. So then going on to Mo Salah is the next player we're going to be talking about, and now with Liverpool, like Spurs, they also haven't been playing well recently, but the thing with Mo Salah is that the stats have been backing him up. So the stats in terms of Mo Salah have been really good. He's been almost top in most stats from an attacking point of view, and that's why I really am kind of thinking about maybe not taking him out, but with the way Liverpool are playing currently, I don't know if I'm going to be that confident in Mo Salah getting a haul. And with Sheffield United up next, and then Chelsea, and then also Fulham in game week 27. Now I know that I said Fulham was a good game week for Spurs, but remember Spurs are kind of countering it with the Burnley fixture, which you could maybe argue that both those two teams have been quite defensively strong, but I still am favouring Harry Kane in those 2 game weeks. But then Fulham for Mo Salah I think might be a little bit of a tricky game week, so you might not be captaining him in that, and that's the thing, is if you're not going to be captaining Mo Salah in game week 27, I don't really know why you are looking at him, because Sheffield United, Chelsea, that's going to be a really tough double for Mo Salah, especially because those teams I think are going to man mark him quite a lot, and he's been generally struggling with that man marking recently. So Mo Salah is definitely on the chopping block for me, and out of these 4 premiums, I think I'm most likely to lose Mo Salah to afford the other players. Next is Bruno Fernandes, who on the fixture point of view has some really bad fixtures coming up. Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Man City, and then West Ham. All those teams have been relatively defensively sound. I guess Crystal Palace is probably on the lower end of that attacking threat, but I think in game week 25 they show that they can be quite defensively strong against the likes of Brighton. But with Bruno Fernandes just so essential in terms of consistency, I think since his signing he's been the highest scoring FPL player in the game, so that's why I'm not really confident on taking Bruno Fernandes out. I think he's also a little bit more assured of points returns, and that's why he's more consistent because of that more assisting threat that he does offer from that midfield position. So Bruno Fernandes, and because he comes in a bit cheaper than Mo Salah, I don't know if I'll be losing him before I lose the Egyptian winger. And then finally Kevin De Bruyne. Now Kevin De Bruyne has one advantage that you can see graphically there. He has an extra game in double game week 27. So yes, Man City now have a double game week in 27. So game week 27 consists of Man United and Southampton. And you might have also noticed that the next 4 games are all at home. And if you remember correctly from the previous season this season, Kevin De Bruyne's home form has been absolutely sensational. So that could be something that leads you to Kevin De Bruyne and why you want to push for him. But I think coming back from injury, I really can't see him starting too many of these games. So that's kind of the only thing that worries me about Kevin De Bruyne. Not only do you have Pep Roulette, but then you also have a player that hasn't played a full 90 since coming back from injury, which could be a little bit worrying. And with the Champions League kind of filling in these midweeks, we could maybe look at some rotation risk and a rest risk for Kevin De Bruyne. And with Gundogan playing so well recently and at basically half the price, I think that I would favour maybe going for Gundogan over Kevin De Bruyne and then just going for a double up in defence and hoping that your 2 defenders start. But the premium assets are going to be what your wildcard revolves around. So what you have to do is you have to look at these 4 players, decide who you want, decide who you don't want. I personally can't do that for you. That's going to be your own kind of decision. Just go for the players that you favour. If you're a form type of player, go for maybe a Bruno Fernandes. Maybe look at a Kevin De Bruyne from that differential aspect. But if you are kind of a fixture point of view player, I definitely would think that those Spurs assets are quite tasty. So now going on to the first draft, we do have 0.6 remaining in the bank, so hopefully you guys can afford this. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is that you do have some good coverage for that blank game week 29. I've included Sufal, I've included Suchek, you've got some players from Spurs and Aston Villa that you can simply play, and you must also remember that you do have some free transfers before that blank game week to kind of fill in and hopefully get you a starting 11. Areola starts in goal with Martinez, so I think this combination is going to be quite template for a wild carder. The reason being is that Fulham have seen a defensive resurgence, so you could play Areola occasionally if he does have a good fixture. Maybe Aston Villa don't have a great fixture, then you can go for the Fulham goalkeeper and you would be quite comfortable with getting some points returns. But I do think Martinez will be your double game week 26 keeper just because of those lovely fixtures for Aston Villa. Now Aston Villa's defense hasn't been that great. We've seen that Martinez has had to make a lot of saves, so that kind of leads to me thinking that the defense doesn't look that good, because if you have an increased amount of saves, that usually means that there's a decreased amount of defensive threat. So although Aston Villa's defensive threat has gone down, I do think that Martinez Martinez still is a good goalkeeper, and I think that he still has a couple of good hauls left in him for that double game week 26. The defense is going to be a 3 at the back, so you're going to go for Lucas Digne, Cancelo, and Diaz. You can just swap and change these City defenders if you want. Maybe if you want to go for a John Stones instead, you can simply go for him, but I'm favoring Cancelo and Diaz, and just kind of hoping that these two players do start. I do think there will be rotation here, especially for Cancelo, because they do have a full stack of fullbacks remaining in that Man City lineup now. All of them have come back from injury, so there will be some rotation for Cancelo, but I do think that he's worth the risk. I mean, has that attacking threat and the defensive threat, and that Man City defense has just been so good that I would definitely look at having a double up with that Man City defense. Then Lucas Digne, from an attacking and a defensive point of view, Everton have some nice fixtures coming up, especially in double game week 26, so I would look at him. Then the midfield is going to be a 4 in midfield with Harvey Barnes, Gundogan, Fernandes, and Heung-min Son. Souček here, just a little bit of coverage, and also for that blank game week 29 as mentioned, but you can see that I have gone without Salah here. So the premiums I've gotten for are going to be Fernandes, Son, and Kane. In the next draft, we'll be talking about a draft with Mo Salah, so just skip to that if you want to go for a Mo Salah draft. But Harvey Barnes is one of the most informed players at the moment, with a nice little double for Leicester. Not the best in the world in terms of those fixtures, but I think that Harvey Barnes can score against anyone. A Gundogan in the form of his life, kind of a no-brainer for me. And I've spoken about Fernandes. I don't really want to lose his position because he's just such a main talisman and such a consistent player. So I've gone for Son and Kane in this draft just because of those lovely fixtures in double game week 26, and I would probably be looking at captaining Harry Kane instead of Heung-min Son. I just think that Harry Kane is a bit more essential and might have a better return on investment there. And then to partner Harry Kane in that forward department, I've gone for Calvert-Lewin and I've gone for Watkins. Watkins could be a little bit of a controversial one with Jack Grealish out. We don't know exactly how long he's out for, but if he's out for double game week 26, that definitely lessens the impact of Ollie Watkins. But I still think with those lovely fixtures that Aston Villa do have, he can still get something out of double game week 26. DCL are just one of the more essential players, I think, if you are on a wild card, because he has a really high upside with those lovely fixtures that Everton do have upcoming. So I would be looking at him. The nice thing about this draft as well is going without Mo Salah allows you to have Harry Kane, and if you don't have Harry Kane, DCL, and Watkins, it kind of makes your forward department a little bit lacking, because out of these three options, there's not many that I would be considering. Maybe an Antonio, but I don't know if I'd be starting him in double game week 26. So then you have to look at another midfielder or defender that starts in his position. So after Harry Kane, DCL, and Watkins, the forward department is definitely a little bit lacking. But now let's go on and look at a Salah draft. So the Salah draft, I'm not going to be talking about the changes that I have made. I've brought in John Stones here to show you that you can just swap and change these players. And I did need a little bit more budget to afford Luke Shaw. So Luke Shaw's attacking threat has been absolutely sensational. He has the most chances created from that defensive position, and I just think with those upcoming United fixtures, although defensively the teams don't look that good, I think from an attacking point of view, he definitely can get something out of it. I know that they've been conceding to a lot of teams lower in the table, but I think against the bigger opposition, they should hopefully improve defensively. You can just kind of chop and change Shaw if you want to go for Matt Target. Maybe you want to double up on that Aston Villa defense. You can also look at that. I just wanted to show you the options that you do have if you're on a wild card. So I've included Salah here, and what I've done is I've taken out Heung-min Son and I've brought in Harvey Barnes. This is probably more of a safer draft to look at because you're only going for one Spurs asset, and with the form they are in currently, I think that might be enough. So if I was to go for a Spurs asset, I definitely would look at Harry Kane. Spoke about it a little bit in the captaincy for this week, but I just think that Harry Kane is a bit more essential to that Spurs attack, and he has more of a chance of getting returns with him being on things like penalties. So going with Mo Salah, I think it's more of a safe option, really high ownership there, but I just think if you want to go for a more overall upside team with the maximum out of double game week 26, I would probably look at losing the Egyptian and going for maybe Son as just the upside in those two lovely fixtures in double game week 26 for Spurs might be a little bit higher. But let me know what your wildcard draft is down below. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. I'll be checking you guys tomorrow for the preview and then the day after that for the team selection. So as I mentioned, drop your wildcard drafts down below or any questions that you do have. I'll be getting to them as soon as this video is released. I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.